All right, welcome back. We're focusing this hour on mellowing medical marijuana. We heard of two very distinctively different things from the U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder this week. One, on Tuesday, the message was we won't federally prosecute people using medical marijuana in states that consider it legal. And then 2 days later, Eric Holder made this announcement of a huge crackdown on a drug cartel.
This operation has dealt a significant blow to La Familia's supply chain of illegal drugs, weapons, and cash flowing between Mexico and the United States. We have seized more than $32 million in United States currency, more than 2,700 pounds of methamphetamine, nearly 2,000 kilograms of cocaine, approximately 16,000 pounds of marijuana, and 29 pounds of heroin.
All right, huge drug bust, including heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and at the same time relaxing federal restrictions now in certain states where medical marijuana is legal. Can you have it both ways? We're delving into this very topic right now. We've got with us, bringing back Dr. Eric Voth. He helps to recommend, he is also helping to regulate this. He is apparently big on drug policy as well. Ohio Representative Kenny Yuko, where he wants to legalize medical marijuana. And also Ron Brooks is back with us again with the National Narcotics Officers Association. Okay, so I wonder, gentlemen, can you have it both ways? Dr. Voth, we haven't heard from you in a while, but we got two very different messages from the Attorney General this week. Going this way forward, are we sending a mixed message, or is a mixed message being sent by the federal government?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a mixed message going on here. And one of the big messages is, on one hand, we want consumer protection and we want federal preemption for consumer protection with other drugs, but yet we're rolling over on marijuana. We're saying, states, whatever you want to do, we'll stay out of your hair. And that's a problem. If you look at the research, there's only one thing that cannabis and cannabinoids have really been shown to do well, and that's help nausea. Yet states like California are allowing it for many different kinds of applications that have zero science behind it. Okay. That's a problem. Okay,
Representative Yuko, you are hoping that your state just might become the 14th state that would say across the board, medical marijuana, okay. Why?
Basically because a lot of people have come to our office and explained to me point blank that their quality of life would be greatly improved if they had the ability to find use a drug that would ease their pain, ease their nauseousness that they have in their stomach, ease the pain of glaucoma. And what we're going to do is look into different ways, learn from what the preceding states have done, and move forward from there.
Well, I don't know if you heard Mr. Ron Brooks earlier talking about the concern about regulating the dispensaries. If Ohio were to legalize marijuana, medical marijuana, would there be dispensaries just like you see in California? And Mr. Brooks was saying there isn't a really good stringent regulation of the dispensaries. You don't really know all the time where it's coming from. A lot of people are breaking the law. Have you thought about how you actually enforce the safety of these dispensaries if Ohio were to legalize marijuana?
Well, I have thought about it, and basically what my thoughts are that we would not have dispensary. It would strictly be by the recommendation of a doctor and probably mail in.
Where would people get it from? Mail in strictly?
More than likely, yes.
And how do you regulate that? Don't you still worry that perhaps someone's supply is, there's some huge disparity between one person's supply versus the next patient in your state, and that they're actually getting different stuff?
Well, it's kind of interesting that this week on the news there was a story about a shipment of Viagra that wasn't actually the real thing. Does that mean we should outlaw Viagra? Might make a lot of men very unhappy if we do so. You know, if we have a law enforcement that will make sure that what we do and what we say we're going to do that is actually abiding by the law, and those who break the law will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
So, Ron Brooks, what would be your recommendation to Representative Yuko and the rest of Ohio if indeed that state collectively said, you know what, we like the idea of medical marijuana? What would you want to see in place?
You know, my recommendation would be not to go down that path. It's reckless and it's irresponsible. You know, we have all lost friends due to our two legal drugs, alcohol and tobacco. We've all seen people destroy their lives, their careers, their family, their hopes, and their dreams. And that's what happens with marijuana as well. 65% of all kids in treatment, 12 to 17, in treatment for drugs or alcohol, are in treatment for marijuana. Another 11% are in treatment for alcohol and marijuana or other drugs. I mean, it is a devastating drug, and it needs to, people need to realize that it's not a benign drug. It is a dangerous and addicting drug.
Okay, we're hearing a lot from people via social networking. Our Josh Leves is back with us now. I'm getting a quick glance just at my blog from Liberty Man. He says, Mellow is good. About time people in this country have become aware of the insanity of criminalizing medications. What else are we heering?
And Fred, you know, and I'll tell our guests what I try to do throughout the hours. I try to be balanced in a couple ways, get questions to each side, but also really represent what we're getting. And 99-point-something% of what we're getting is in support of legalizing medical marijuana, just what we happen to be hearing today. So I'm going to start off with a question from Mr. Voth. I told you earlier this hour, I had something for you. This is from Ryan, who says there are hardly crimes due to marijuana. How many people do you hear of smoking it, then driving and crashing, versus how many DUIs? And that's not the only example of people pointing to alcohol, saying there are all these horrible things that happen when people have alcohol. Why put these kind of restrictions on medical marijuana by comparison to what happens in alcohol? Mr. Voth, your response.
Well, you're mixing several issues there, but I will tell you, as far as driving under the influence related traumas, marijuana is the most common represented drug outside of alcohol, and in some places, like in Boulder County, for instance, it's the most common problem. That is an additional issue for physicians that make recommendations to be sure that patients are tuning in that if they smoke or use marijuana, that it might impair their driving.
I'm sorry, my earpiece dropped out for a second. Someone was talking to me. Did you say it's the most common problem beyond DUI?
Yes, but beyond alcohol.
Beyond alcohol?
As far as trauma, yes.
Oh, in terms of leading to trauma, but it certainly doesn't happen more often than that. It certainly doesn't happen more.
In some counties, such as Boulder County as an example, it is more common than alcohol, and it's highly represented, like 60% of traumas.
Okay, but you're still, I mean, talking about mixing issues there. We're not, this would be about medical marijuana. So if you just look at people who had medical marijuana, and then in the cases, I don't know if there are many cases of people in those cases going and driving, versus alcohol, which anyone can go drink legally. This is what people are pointing to, and they're saying, wait a second, that's where it seems to be a disparity.
But you're mixing issues there. You're mixing legal alcohol used for intoxication versus marijuana for medical purposes.
Let me try to clarify. This is the point that a lot of our viewers are drawing right now. What they're saying is right now, legally, people can go and drink a lot of alcohol. The issue today is about medical use of marijuana. So if only people who had medical right to use marijuana were having it and that were legal, would that really endanger people on the streets?
Well,
would it really cause more problems?
Let me give you a different parallel. If I prescribe Valium, I have a responsibility to tell my patients, if you take this, don't go out on the street because it could impair your driving. I would have that responsibility with marijuana.
Okay, and
as
hold
well.
it right there. We're going to pick up again on that conversation because we're up against a hard break right now, and you know, we are going to talk some more about that, the risks involved, and these dispensaries. We've been talking about them. Some of us are seeing them for the first time, but guess what? LA County, there are something like 600 of them, so it's fairly commonplace these days. But what happens when you go inside? What kinds of products will you see?
Cocoa passions, these are basically Rice Krispie treats.